How's that riff? That's a good one. So there, you can have it. It's free. All right, my Fender rant. I'm done with Fender. 3 reasons, really good reasons why I am finally done. I will not at this point buy even so much as a pick from Fender. Up yours. Reason number 1, the bass breaker. First run of bass breakers came with effects loop jacks that were uninsulated. There was so much noise in the effects loop that you could not even use it. And so how did the whole first run of bass breakers get out of the Fender factory like that without anybody bothering to check and see if they even worked right? And then no recall. They gave you a ticket to go to your local service center. Well, we all know how that goes. You never know what you're going to end up with that backstreet service center. And anyway, some stories there. And the 3 gain stages not being switchable. Bass breaker's got a great tone that I really like, but I think Fender just dropped the ball on that stuff. Not foot switchable gain stages and effects loop jacks that were horrendous. So noisy you couldn't even use the effects loop. I'm not talking about a little noise. I'm talking about a lot of noise. So that's kind of strike 1. But I let it go. But it's still strike 1. Strike 2 was overall just the Fender stuff. They're so slow in getting up to speed on obvious advancements other companies are doing. Other things companies are coming up with. Fender just seems to be so slow. Like effects loops in some of their other amps. You have to get a Hot Rod Deluxe or maybe a Supersonic to get an effects loop in a Fender amp. You can't even get one in an upper end thing like the Princeton. The Blues Junior is still $600 and it's just not that great of an amp. I mean, the mono price at $200 really holds its own and I think is even better than the Blues Junior. Plus, the mono price has foot switchable reverb and an effects loop and an external speaker jack. And the Blues Junior has none of that and it's still $600. Even when you get up to a Princeton, you do have the great tremola and you got the great reverb, but you still don't have an extension jack and you don't have an effects loop. How are you going to do anything with a looper without an effects loop? You can't run it through the front. It just doesn't sound the same. Plus, all your time-based effects and your delays are all going to have to go right through the front of the amp. Who wants that? And a Princeton is a $1,000 amp. It seems like it would be loaded with some features. Anyway, so just that. And the fact that my Telecaster bridge was mounted in such a way that the strings didn't even line up with the neck. I had to drill a little keyhole for one of the height adjustment screws on a saddle to sit in so that the saddles were actually skewed a little bit off of perpendicular from the bridge, just so that the strings would line up straight on the neck and wouldn't float around as you were playing it. I did a video on that, and what a headache it was. It finally played nice, but I had to fix it in order for it to play nice. And I don't mean set it up. I mean literally fix a flaw in the assembly of that guitar. And then the other things, like the Player Series, all right? I recently did a review on that bad boy right there, the Vintage Series. Reissue guitar. It's got locking tuners. It's got Canadian maple neck that is satinized. It's so smooth. It's got Pearloid pick guard, Wilkinson pickups, and tremola. It has the heel cut off the back of the neck joint so that it's very easy to get up to the higher frets. All those things are something Fender could have done on their Player Series. No locking tuners, blank white plastic pick guard, the heel not trimmed off. Why? Those are seemingly super easy things to do. And if you're offering up something like the Player Series that is supposed to be new and a really player type guitar, you would have done those things. But in order to get those little tiny niceties, you have to go to the higher end stuff. And there's just no reason for it. because that vintage series is $400. Player series is $600 and above. And I don't appreciate that kind of treatment from a company. All right, so that's kind of all strike two. Big strike two. Strike one, strike two. And I'm still kind of just okay with it. However, I recently ran into an issue with my EVH Wolfgang. A lot of you have this same guitar. It's a great guitar. I had to work a lot on it to get it to play like it does now. I had to shim the neck. I had to dig out around the bottom of the tremola. I had to do some cool stuff here in the back with a old guy designed stop block. I did some mods so that the bridge or neck pickup switches from series to parallel. That took some doing. So I've put a lot of work into this, and it really plays nice now. I really like it. Also, anyway, so what happened though, when I got this, I went through 3 of these. I took receipt of 3 of these, and they all looked like this. See that darkening there? Yeah, yuck. Anyway, I sent them all back one at a time, and then I finally found one in Texas that was clean, this one, and it was perfect. It was in perfect condition. And at this point, I'm having people unbox the guitar. I'm saying unbox it, look at it. This is what's going on. I want to make sure this hasn't already happened to this guitar. I didn't know it was an aging thing. Hey Fender, how about a recall? How about letting people know this gold top that you discontinued is going to take a on you? Wouldn't that have been a little nice heads up? Yeah, you'd think so, right? But there was no recall. Anyway, I found one that was really cherry, was perfect. And so I picked it up, and wouldn't you know it, about 8 weeks ago, this started happening. I've had it for a year and about 3 months at this point, so it's still under warranty. See all that blackening right there? And then on the top, you see that white right there. See that white stripe right there? That's under the finish. And none of this was here 8 weeks ago. It just came up over this last summer. Just showed up. The back was great as well. And now the back is starting to do a really weird splotchy thing. Looks like leopard dots. Cheetah print. Anyway, so the finish is taking a dive. So I do the right thing. I call Fender. I talk to Brad at the Fender Love and Peace customer happiness place. And he says, well, get in touch with your local Fender dealer down in Folsom. They have to take pictures and see, verify that what you say is happening, is actually happening. So I do that, and I take my receipt from the Tone Zone in Texas. And they say, okay, well, we'll get this started. So Fender lets me know that they're going to give me an $824 credit towards a new instrument. I paid $824 to the Tone Zone in Texas for this guitar, brand new. Well, the new guitars, the new EVH guitars, are $999. That's $150, more than $150 difference, not to mention the mods and the work I've done. I don't want to have to go through all that work and modification again with a new guitar. But I might be willing to, but what the salt in the wound was your instrument is now $999. That's a cool $1,000, and you're going to give me what I paid for this in credit towards a new one. What I paid for the instrument is between me and the retailer who sold it to me. Does your warranty cover the instrument, or does it just cover the portion I paid for it? It seems like if Fender was interested in really good customer service, that they would have said, yeah, that sucks, that finish looks bad. Tell you what, here's our catalog. Pick out any new EVH special you'd like, and we'll ship it to you next day. That would have been great customer service. Not, I'll give you $824 towards the purchase of a new one that costs $1,000, all right? What is that, $176 up and beyond? Just bent me the wrong way. I don't want to get on the phone and argue with Brad again about whether or not he's covering the instrument or covering what I paid for it. But once again, what I paid for it's between me and the retailer. If Fender had any sense of customer service, they would open up their catalog and say, yeah, pick out whatever you like. We'll send it to you next day. All right, so I'm done with Fender. There are a lot better instruments elsewhere. The Wolf Telecaster behind me is great, just great, an exceptional instrument. And the vintage up there, as far as the Strat goes, is really nice and a much better instrument. It's totally fun to play. It stays in tune as well as any of my locking tremolo systems. And you're saying I'm kidding. You're saying, no, that can't be. Well, I used to think that in order to have a stable tremolo system, it must have to have a locking nut on it. And it's just not true. My PRS that I had stayed in tune pretty well, but not perfectly. I had a Strat, made in Mexico Strat, and it stayed in tune very well, but not perfectly. That vintage, I can bend on it all day long, and the darn thing stays in tune. It's great. All right, so, hey, thanks for listening. And Fender, up yours, man. Screw you. We're done. We're done. No more. Not so much as even a pick or a strap, anything. I'm done. All right. We'll see you all later. Have a good one.